I have 1 o'clock on my timekeeper. Handy dandy, I call it. And we welcome all of you here for a most momentous occasion. This is probably the largest swearing in that I can remember in the past 25 years. Right? And we always start our meetings with a Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to follow the Pledge of Allegiance with a moment of silence to remember the police officers who have been shot recently. So if you'd all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We have before us an agenda which I believe we're going to significantly modify. Mrs. Zaharia, what would you like us to do?
Board, I would like to move the hiring of our full-time firefighters to before old business.
Okay, rather than all the way up on top of the agenda?
Right, whatever the board's pleasure is.
Okay, I'd just as soon see it right under the approval of the agenda.
Okay.
No. Any other modifications, additions, deletions to the agenda?
Do you have anything for the agenda?
Yeah, the township administrator contract.
Okay, under legal advisor.
I actually have a modification that sheet 3 under my agenda, renewal of dental and vision.
Oh, dental and add vision. Okay. Any others?
Anything on the road for this time or not?
Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Did you have something you want?
Well, I was gonna, if you're gonna do something with the administrator contract, do you want to have a conversation in open session, or would you like to go into executive session compensation?
No, it will be open session.
We can do open.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, Mr. Kratz.
Yes.
Mr. Paxton.
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes. Now turn the meeting over to the chief for the reason why you're all here. We usually do not have a room this full. If we have 2 people, we have a lot.
Good afternoon, Board. It is my privilege today to make a recommendation to the Board for the hiring of 9 new full-time firefighters for Beavercreek Township Fire Department. These members have demonstrated their knowledge, skills, and abilities that exemplify the professionalism and pride of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department and our commitment to the citizens of Beavercreek. The position of firefighter is one rich in tradition, pride, and honor, not only in the fire service, but the society as a whole. The firefighter is a role model and the one others turn to in a time of crisis. Here in Beavercreek Township, we expect our firefighters to be among the best trained and highly proficient professionals serving the members of our community with integrity, pride, and compassion. Our firefighters are most often the first impression we make as an organization. Therefore, we do not lightly take this responsibility we hold when a 25 or 30-year commitment is made to the community, the fire department, and the individual hired as a career firefighter. Today, I'm recommending to you that you hire firefighter Steve Renix, firefighter Josh Smith, firefighter Shane Horn, firefighter John Ostrowski, firefighter Tim McLaughlin, firefighter Zachary Jones, firefighter Chris Fugate, firefighter Chris Bays, and firefighter Mike Conley as full-time firefighters for Beavercreek Township.
When will the starting date be?
Today, ma'am.
Okay. Do I have a motion to the effect to hire these 9 individuals as of today?
I so move that motion.
I thought the resolutions were all completed.
Just the
We have the oaths.
Those motions.
Okay. Did you want to second the motion?
So moved.
You just seconded it, okay.
As of today.
Okay.
Did you made the motion, correct?
Second.
Mr. Paxson, Mr. Kretz,
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes. That's the official hiring.
Thank you,
And now
Board.
you'd like them,
With that, I'd like to invite those 9 gentlemen to come forward and have the
Okay.
oath administered.
and if you will place them as you would
Yes.
like them.
We will stagger you guys right here in front of the township administrator.
I think they want you facing that way.
Yes,
You
you
need to
want.
be on camera, so look at the red light.
While they're
Or red
getting in,
lights.
while they're getting
And you'll
in
have to
place.
scoot down and
I'm going to be in somebody's way, and I'm so sorry.
Okay. We are videoing this, our meeting, and after our meeting, it will be posted on YouTube accessible through the township website, so that any of you can then see this again. Okay.
All right, so no need to be nervous. I will mess it up, I promise. So if you mess it up, you're good. But I am here today to certify that we this date have appointed you, the 9 individuals that come before us today, to the position of full-time firefighter, paramedic of Beavercreek Township Fire Department, and that said appointment is to take effect December 22nd, 2014. If you'll raise your right hand. I state your name. Did you get that right, everybody?
Didn't mess it up so much.
Being duly sworn,
Say
say that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of full-time firefighter paramedic
of a full-time firefighter paramedic
of Beavercreek Township Fire Department,
of Beavercreek Township Fire Department,
Greene County.
Greene County.
Congratulations.
What did you?
And with this larger group, we're asking the board to do something just a little bit different than usual. We'd like to invite these gentlemen to go back to the HR office and sign all of the fiscal office and HR paperwork they need to get signed. And
So
then-
they can get paid.
So that they can get paid. That's correct. And then adjourn next door with their families to the basement of Station 61 for reception. And then if the board is willing, we'll join them after the meeting and get some pictures and do some further introductions.
Okay. And the pinning and the handing.
Yes, we'll do badges and shields when we get next door.
So at this time, we'll let you all go first.
That'd be great. Appreciate it.
Okay. The next order of business that we have on the agenda is the approval of the December 24th payroll.
We approve the payroll in the amount of, for December 24, 2014, in the amount of $278,547.36.
Second.
Mr. Paxson.
Yes.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Graff.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $266,147.35.
Second.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Mr. Paxson.
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes.
We approve the minutes for regular meeting held December 8, 2014.
Second.
Mr. Paxson.
Yes.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the special meeting held December 8th, 2014.
Second.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Mr. Paxson.
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes.
And to approve the minutes for the special meeting December the 11th, 2014.
Second.
Mr. Paxson.
Yes.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes. At this point in the meeting, we open up the podium to any citizen who would like to address the board on any issues that they might have, and they have 3 minutes in which to do it. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
There is, but he's in the restroom. The podium's open.
Oh, did you want to speak?
Do you want to speak?
Did you have anything you wanted to address the board?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's not on the agenda, whatever.
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, then please go to the podium, give your name and address,
All right.
and tell us what your issue is.
Name's Brian Wilhite. I'm from the Conservancy. I live at 1888 Pathfinder Court. And we're here on behalf of the Homeowners Association, kind of concerned about some property that's for sale adjacent to the Conservancy. It's being deemed for, I guess, dense residential development. And there's some stipulations on that property we were able to dig out on the deed, saying that it can only be subdivided up into 9 lots. And we approached the zoning board here on how to handle this, trying to see if they're trying to rezone it for high density. And we're told that there's nothing they can do about it. If they're applied to have it rezoned, that they would approve it. Trying to come on behalf of you guys to see what other recourse do we have to see that the deed was followed through. Is it just...
Mrs. Harriff, do you know anything about this case coming forward, or? I remember the case where there's a certain limited number of residential lots in it.
Yeah.
5-acre tracts or something like that, weren't they? 5 acres?
Almost 72 acres.
Okay.
Right.
This is on the east side of Tripline?
That would be on the west side.
West side of Trayvine, abutting the Conservancy.
Yes.
I'm not aware that you spoke with Mr. Amrine, zoning office.
I have not. I spoke, I think, to the secretary there, or whoever the receptionist picks up the phone.
That would probably be the first person.
I think the only caveat I would say is that anyone is allowed to apply for whatever they want.
Right.
Whether they get it or not has to do with, does it follow our rules, regulations, caveats that came before, and our land use plan.
Mm-hmm. Being this is a restriction on the deed,
Right.
would that still fall under your jurisdiction or no?
To refer that to legal.
Right.
The deed of what property? Their own property?
The property that's up for sale, actually, it's got a sale pending on it right now.
I mean, I have to see the deed and see what the restriction is, but
See, what's happened, just so you know, what our concern is that this property has been bought and sold, bought and sold, bought and sold by overdevelopment, several overdevelopments. And basically our impression is that they're trying to wash the deed a little bit, so if they do this enough times, that will be forgotten.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to make sure that we have everyone's attention here, that
Yeah.
we do have documentation. I can give it to you, and I want to make sure that they do try to have that redeveloped or rezoned, that you guys are aware of what the deed is claiming should be done with that land.
I would say that as the case goes through zoning, you bring that up over and over. And once it's in the pipeline, that's when our forces can start taking
All right.
steps and giving our board,
if they
the
do-
zoning board, the recommendations and legal advice as to how to follow. Is that, Ms. Vick, does that sound correct?
yeah, I mean, it would come before the zoning commission, and at that point, we would see that documentation, and you would have an opportunity.
We'd be notified.
Yeah, you'll be notified once an application has been filed and when there's a public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, to ensure that, file with the zoning office saying that if this property comes up, you want to be notified. And you can give her email, and if it comes up, you will be notified as soon as that happens.
You'd be notified by mail.
Either one.
It'd be on the website as well, so just to be clear. So, Ms. Frick, in a normal situation though, just so they have the correct understanding, a deed restriction that's conveyed from one owner to another owner, would that truly fall under zoning, or would that really lie between the two owners?
It generally would lie between the two owners, depending on it, and depending on how those transfers continue through the process. But it would, be important to actually see the language and see what it
Right.
is that they're saying to know for sure, but.
Okay.
So it may behoove you to, if there's a way to let the previous owner that put that restriction on the deed,
It goes way back.
if there's a way to, through the
Yeah.
family or heirs or whatever entity that was.
It might even have come from a previous zoning case way back when. That I don't remember. I just
Do you
remember the
offhand
property.
about what year that was that?
I have to refer to the document. It was the Rose Ankeny farm we're talking about. The property was put through the conservancy so that the restrictions were put in for perpetuity forever. And over the years, it feels like some of that language away from the deed. But I'm pretty sure that it maintained the property forever.
Sure.
Has to be
Yes.
enforced, obviously.
So if, as I said, as the case starts going through the zoning process, if and when, that would be the proper time to bring all this forth, the times, the dates, and then it will follow through the case, and then our legal counsel can get
I'm showing
involved.
this dated back to 1990.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. But hopefully, it will follow through and you'll know what's going on, but as long as you request to be notified, that's the public records request through the zoning office. If it comes up and it goes to hearing, or any time it will be on the agenda for the zoning commission, you would be notified if you've asked to be put on that list to be notified.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, seeing no more.
Thank you.
No?
I don't have any old business on the agenda. New business, but I don't see Mr. Rankin here.
I told him to come a few minutes late, just not knowing
So
how long.
when he comes, then we'll put him on.
Insert him at any time.
Okay, so
I had a question.
those two things are the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's a double. One of them.
Okay, it's the same issue.
Okay.
I
And
had,
this,
I had just asked Mr. Ankeny to come today. We had asked him, if you remember, earlier in the year, when we
Went
approved
to get-
EMS services.
right.
We asked him to come so that we knew for budget for next year what the expectation or needs would be. So that's what he was gonna come today and just give us the schedule and what they would be looking for next year so we could plan in our budget process.
Okay, so when he comes, that's who we'll put him on.
that was a question I had in here now. Refresh my memory. I thought we asked to get a price on what it cost us to staff up this event.
Speaking of the
I
demo,
don't think we're.
Mr. Ankeny, you're up.
This isn't to approve it. This is just for him to explain what he needs for next year, and then the anticipation was that Chief would be able to give us a cost of what we did last year.
yeah, we're
You're
at
correct.
the, yeah.
You are correct.
We're at the point in the agenda
Perfect
where
time.
you are here to tell us about your schedule for next year.
Okay, here, I got a copy. Got 3 copies. I don't know who wants them.
I can share
3
it.
copies?
That's how many. Well, if I can get them apart, I got 3 copies.
This is an empty piece of paper.
John,
You just got a ball.
John, if you want to give one to Alex down there, then I'll share one.
Yeah.
Well, I'll hand mine to you as soon as we're finished. And we'll all look at it because there's only one here. Okay, so we're going to share this, everybody.
Anyway, we've got 3 major tournaments this year. The Creek, which is on the list, I forget the date.
May 30th, 31st.
Yes, and we need an ambulance for that. The Meade Coosa Cup, it's 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which is 9/5, 9/6, 9/7, and then the Haunted Classic. It's 3 days, but we only have 1 round on Friday night, so I don't ask that we have an AMS then. But on the 24th and 25th, we'll be totally full. In fact, all these tournaments on the days other than the championship round, every field will be have a game going on. That could be from 42 to 50 fields.
And what time in the morning do you start and what time do you finish?
Games start at 8 in the morning and usually are over 6:30 or 7.
There's no regional this year?
No regionals this year.
4 last year or 5?
There were 4 last year.
Including the regional?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's other little tournaments, but they're small, 3v3, just a few fields. So it's not worth the cost and the trouble. We are very proud of if any of you come to when we hosted the chamber meeting down there, we're very proud of what the complex brings into the area as far as dollars. And a lot of that's Beavercreek. I was in a meeting with different people. They want to know when we were going to do something for Beavercreek. And I asked them, when are you going to build a hotel? And now they build hotels, and we have the hotel filled from below Cincinnati to north of Columbus for these major tournaments, and we're proud of that. That's what it's all about. So, and we appreciate you guys helping us with the ambulances. I think that saves us, saves you trouble in the end, because if somebody gets hurt, then we can't get anybody in, can't get them out, and the guys with the roll around, they call it their gator. It's not a gator, but anyway, they're able to deliver any patient to where the most convenient place is.
What do we call that one? The Kubota.
Kubota.
Okay.
And to be clear, John, the Creek is obviously a BSA Celtic tournament. The Haunted Classic is a BSA tournament. The Mead Cup, though, is
the Centerville tournament.
Is the Centerville tournament.
That they rent.
Okay.
But on the same thing, it brings all the people here.
I understand. Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
And all of the Beavercreek, the BSA, is it BSA or Celtic? Is that a select tournament or is that a rec tournament?
The Haunted is all the tournaments, both the Creek and the Haunted are BSA tournaments. The Celtics run the Haunted tournament. Okay. The Creek is part of the BSA function. It's part of our budget.
Okay. In the Coosa tournament, though, the BSA teams participated.
Oh, yes.
They're all in that.
Probably at least 30 or more.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We'll get back with you on.
I think the intent was just to get the information to us so Chief can do some analysis and determine what it cost us last year so we can plan ahead for next year.
That's great. I want to thank you for that. You don't know, there's another side to this, and I think I'd take 30 seconds. Our influence or our showing to the rest of the community around, to the soccer community, to saying, when there's an ambulance sitting there, that pays a lot of dividends, and is one of the reasons we draw so much, because the parents know that. And I get thanked a lot, and I'm sure some of the guys working there have, but they're there. But if you need anything, please let me know.
Okay. I
know where to find you.
Yes,
Yeah, you know
we
where to
have your
find
number, I believe.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Chief, would it be possible to put together some numbers just so we have that when we go into budget as far as just what it cost us last year, understanding there'll be one less tournament this year, the regional semifinals won't be.
Probably one big change on our side will be obviously the staffing differences. We'll be
Right.
examining it a little bit differently, but we'll definitely have it for you for the budget.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Harriet, I believe you're up next.
Thank you, Board. The Board asked that we talk about IT staffing and options at this meeting, as well as bringing forward some recommendations. In your packet, some information regarding the IT staffing. One thing that's been discussed for quite some time, even before the Novak group, is the amount of IT that is being conducted by fire department staff. Obviously, since the transition that we're making with our fire department, there's going to be some limited roles, and based on the Novak report, different priorities for the firefighters to complete, even though not all the recommendations have been approved, but there are several recommendations in the Novak group in regards to the firefighters and daily operations of the fire department. One thing that was discussed at one of our open meetings with the Novak group was having firefighters work on IT staff, so or IT items within the fire department. What we have before you today is a recommendation based on the Novak report, as well as the discussion that we've been having on this topic, is to remove all the IT functions out of the fire department and put it under the IT department. The IT department would then be 100% responsible for IT infrastructure, essentially for the entire township, including the fire department. What you see in the report is that currently how many people in the fire department are working on IT, and then the limited one person that we have and one part-time person through contract. What we're recommending here is that we consider hiring a full-time employee, and much like we've already done with the fire department and road department, is to split the cost allocation with the fire department in regards to the services that are provided from the IT department to the fire department. Mr. Erickson and Mr. Terry are both here to answer any questions the board may have in regards to the report. One thing I'll point out is all the functions in there, and then some recommendations and options for us to move forward in 2015 with the IT department. One of the other things I will mention is we are currently going through the RFP process to see if we can provide also a service to the city of Beavercreek through a shared service. The city has decided to go out for RFP. Mr. Erickson and Mr. Terry have attended the first meeting. The RFP for return of proposals are due January 21st to the city of Beavercreek. So the staff is currently evaluating that and see what type of services that we can provide to the city of Beavercreek, also based on the infrastructure that we already have in place. So just on a brief glance, the staff's working on that, and Mr. Terry can answer any questions on it in regards to that as well.
Is there any concern about splitting the funds from which a person would be paid?
Staff has met in regards to the road department and done some cost allocations there as well, and those are budgeted for 15. And then the chief and I and Mr. Terry have met in regards to using the same outline that would be represented in the budget as well, and department heads have turned all their budgets into me, putting together currently the budget document, and hopefully have it out to you as a Christmas gift this week. So we are working through that. Now the other recommendation, not only from NOVAC, that the fire department and road department are working on, is not only is there a cost allocation, but there's an interdepartmental agreement on how those services are going to be handled between the two departments.
It would be a similar process for this?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any question that can be done?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have a question.
It kind of goes in line with what we already talked about.
We had a discussion.
Right.
Yeah, that was an executive session discussion.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and so I just want to make sure that, because I have a feeling that the work is there. The question is, how do we get it done? How do we make it work for us
It would be the same
within the
concern.
resources that we have?
Right.
Okay, so that was my question on that piece. And did you have a similar one, Mr. Paxson?
Well, that was certainly one of my questions. The other one is, there's been a division of work already within the township, on the fire side of it, IT, and the township side of IT. For whatever reason, there's been a division, and the work has been done solely by the fire department, the IT work, and not necessarily the IT division. Is that firehouse, all that stuff?
There are things that.
Computers in the apparatus?
Yeah, there are things that we have done. There are things that were done by IT that we're working on now. And there's things that have always been done by IT. So there's a combination all the way across the board.
Okay, how is it they understand?
What? It's not on my agenda.
All right, so if we had an equivalent of 40 hours, I think what Nathan said, a week of fire department people putting in fire department IT work, then why hasn't our IT division been putting that work in? And why has it been fire department personnel? I guess is my question.
It was a matter, okay.
Up until now, we've been doing work that wasn't able to be done by IT because they didn't have sufficient staff.
So it was staff related?
Yes.
Yeah, up until now, that's my understanding.
Capacity.
But we've had.
Because they were working on a major upgrade we were at a backlog from the year and a half, 2 years that how long was it between you and
Jeff, Terry? I guess I was Jeff.
About 8 months.
Yeah.
So there was a long delay, so then there was a backlog that they were catching up on, and we were basically a self-supporting user during that time period. Then once Jeff came on, had all the issues that were going on and had to bring on the additional help with Jim, they worked on a couple major upgrades, a Citrix upgrade, a SharePoint upgrade, an Exchange upgrade, which took them away from being able to work on day-to-day maintenance. And so we continued in our self-supporting role. We're ready to be out of our self-supporting role. We're ready to let IT manage the IT system with a few limited exceptions, and that really is kind of the inside part of Firehouse, not the external, not the transports, not the networking side of it, not the database side of it, but simply the user interface side of it, the coding and recording and all of that. That's the only part that we would like to be involved in. We'd like to handle the rest of that off of IT.
Yeah,
which is where this gets us ideally.
So what our information indicates to me is that we really have enough IT to have 2 full-time people doing the work for the entire township. And I don't have a problem with that. I've seen that, and we want our firefighters at this point with our reconfiguration to be doing the firefighting, and that's where all their energy should be at this point. That wasn't even my question, because my vote will be to go with this. I think it's an important thing. That's my 2 cents. The question is the configuration. Mr. Kress, did you have any?
At least in prior lives, there's 2 reasons why you would expand a department, either because you need capacity or because you need technical ability. So from a capacity standpoint, to exhaust that one first, if we add up our capacity, we had a full-time individual in IT, we had a contractor in IT, and we had an individual or group of individuals in fire.
That's correct.
Performing IT function. So we had 2 plus something.
Yeah, and I believe we looked at those numbers or what that plus was.
And so just to exhaust that, so Mr. Erickson was part-time?
That's correct.
Okay. So, part-time. And would we consider him 0.5 part-time? When you were calculating an FTE, a full-time position, would you say it was a 0.5?
I think it was half-time.
That's 20 hours a week.
So yeah, I think his contract essentially was.
So I'm trying to just do some basic math.
Yeah.
And so as far as the resources that we had in fire, those resources, do they add up to 1 full-time person when you take them in cumulative?
They were fluxed. When I asked Chief Easter that specific question, he said about 30 hours a week on average.
Okay.
So a little more than half.
Including microwave or not including microwave?
Including microwave. That was IT as a totality.
Okay, but not including communications?
Correct. And we're not talking about handing communications off either. So
okay.
We're intending to keep communications handled.
So we would.
Microwave, though, would be included or not included?
The networking side would be included in IT. The actual tower work would not be included.
Okay. So from a capacity standpoint, then again, you had 2.5 roughly people, full-time employees working on IT.
1.5 plus 0.5.
You had 1 full-time?
1 full-time, 1 half-time. That's 1.5.
1 half-time.
And then a half from.
1 full-time in fire.
No, he said 3/4.
Okay. All right. then I'll do my math, I'll revise my math to say you had
That's
2.25.
2 1/4, right?
I've
if
never
you-
met the quarter person, so, but
Well,
ultimately,
never met the half person.
we had more than 2 people doing the function, and now we're talking about having a dedicated department of 2 people doing that function, which means some capacity within fire should be freed up.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the intent.
Okay. Because if it's not, we will be making a gross mistake if those resources are used on IT.
Yes.
Okay. So from a capacity standpoint, I understand it. From a technical ability, obviously with the part-time situation we've had, you've been able to evaluate, and you're comfortable that we will have comparable ability or better with the new IT department than what we had with the combination before.
Yes.
It'd be the same or better.
Yes.
Okay. So then logically, it makes sense to me then to consolidate 2 1/4 down to 2 positions, as long as the technical ability is the same or better. The real question then is going to fall back to you on what are you going to do with the surplus capacity now that you have?
My surplus capacity changed what we.
And I understand. Right.
Yeah,
So
it actually disappeared.
it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly, yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Paxson, did that help from a capacity standpoint?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, I
Okay.
can understand what that is, but if we still have some issues with it, you know, here's my point. We had a part-time person up to this point, 20 hours a week, and we're caught up. We're to the point where fire can offload to the IT.
Well, we're done with the projects for last year. We have more projects on the table for next year. It's continuing and continually grows. We're caught up right now with the projects that we had on the list for 14, but
Well, and that, I mean, that was, I'm not gonna go into the project management model, but I mean, that would certainly help sort out the projects and get a beat on them, but the actual cost of a full-time employee versus continuing on with the contract is significant. Maybe I might be in for upping the hours of the contract, but when the minute you bring on another full-time employee, it increases the cost. So here would be if you're gonna open it up for a full-time employee, then why don't we advertise and see what's in the field out there? But first, I might not be so quick to jump on board with hiring another full-time person in IT, maybe increase his hours per week. Right now he's what, 20? And see where it goes from there.
And I think we
Instead of
certainly
jumping right on board with
need the 40 hours.
A full-time employee is a long-term commitment.
Correct.
A long-term commitment for the township. So,
Okay, Mr. Chris, do you have anything to add?
No. Alex, what's your recommendation on this?
Well, I would recommend with the changes that are taking place in the fire department and what we've seen and discussed for the last several years about taking IT out of the fire department, everything except for the radio communication part of it. I would recommend we move forward with hiring a full-time employee. You know, we are in the process also to look at reducing that cost by doing shared services, but we have to go through the process with the city on that.
You have to have the capacity
Right.
to do it
Right.
before you can do
We
it.
soon have the capacity.
then I would add at this point, if we do decide to do the shared services, then maybe we wait until then. And if the workload starts coming in, then perhaps
You can't
move it to,
You can't make a proposal for shared services if you don't have the capacity to do it. And I would liken some of this, because I understand a little bit of what you're saying, is we have, up to this point, now that we're migrating to full-time fire, have used our part-time fire as the training ground, so we had people on board we knew about and had been trained and could move up to fire full-time, which is what we did this afternoon. These 9 individuals that we hired had been working for us. We knew their job experience, what they were like. We have that capacity in this individual we're talking about, because he has been working for us now for a year at least. And so we have a known quantity. If we didn't like the known quantity, we wouldn't have extended the contract, the part-time contract as it was. So I do not see any reason, if we're going to go to a full-time position, to go out and advertise. That's my opinion. Okay, Mr. Chris, you have another one, and you have another one, and then we have to just get on with it.
I think competition for the wage is important to the township, so that's where I'm at with that.
I can appreciate competition for wage, and I can also understand training costs, learning curve, and efficiencies, and that there's a bell curve of, as you hire a new employee in whatever position, but the more technical that position is, whether it's software or hardware or IT infrastructure related especially, they have to come to you with a known and demonstratable skills and expertise, but then there is a learning curve before they hit a peak efficiency as far as their workload. I'll agree that given the fact that you've been here so long, and all I've heard are positive comments, and the fact that the fire has endorsed, the fire chief has endorsed the expanded capabilities of the IT. Essentially, he's sticking his neck out because I'm asking, what are you going to do with your excess capacity now that you're going to offload that, because he can't take it back once he gives it away. That has to stick. So I'm in favor of this from a capacity and from a technical standpoint. I have questions on the economics of it. So the economics are rate related and funding related, and so on a rate, I'll just ask, what's the current rate? I want to qualify. What's the current rate that we are paying as a contractor?
At $32 an hour.
Okay. And at $32 an hour, the contractor is responsible for their own self-employment tax, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And current self-employment tax is roughly 7.5%. Okay. And when that individual converts to a full-time employee at the township, that self-employment tax would be the burden of the township.
That's correct.
Okay. And so if you were attempting to maintain parity with current rate, I would suggest that you adjust the rate that is being offered to reflect minus the self-employment tax that the township would be covering. Otherwise, he's effectively getting a 7.5% raise.
We'll now have 14% to for.
Yeah, there's.
It's 14%.
If you look at Appendix A.
Right, I'm talking strictly self-employment tax. As a consultant, you pay your own.
Right.
As an employee, your employer pays it.
Are we talking about medical benefits too?
That's correct. In Appendix A and page 6 of the packet is just a sample. I mean, if the board moves forward today, it would be my recommendation that we extend Mr. Erickson's contract. We'd still need to create a job description for that position, and then that's approved by the board, as well as a salary range with that position as well.
If we extended, how long would we extend, and at how many hours per week, and when would the transition from fire to IT begin?
We could essentially have everything completed by, in regards to hiring and having a job description approved and salary. We could have everything done by the end of January. The transition would then take place 1st of February. Now, we've had several meetings on that transition and who and what responsibility and who's going to take over what. That's already taken place.
Okay. And so in between now and the 1st of February, would we need the same capacity as we have currently, more or less?
We could get by with the 20 hours a week, but if we're looking at, if we're having to change a contract, I think we should just extend it the way it is. Would probably be the easiest way.
Another 60 days?
Yeah.
That would cover us to the end of February? Because right now we're covered through the end of...
Well, Mr. Erickson is currently out of time because we had the time restriction in there as well.
So that's why
he is complete.
Okay.
So
we need to, so if we extended through the end of February at the current structure that would cover the township's needs?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mr. Barone and Ms. Aarons, as far as what we would need to do, we would need to add money to that account?
Well, we're already working into next year, so I would, for temporaries, I would have to move it around, but, we have our budget talks in January, and I think it's something that we really need to talk about. We cannot continue to burden the general fund
Right.
like we're doing.
Well, that was essentially my question.
Yeah, right, so I think there's a lot further discussion, so extending the contract really wouldn't burden us at that point, but there's going to need to be some discussions on going forward, what we're going to need to do to make this happen.
Okay, so I'm hearing that there'd be almost like a three-part here that we need to do, if we choose to do it. To extend Mr. Erickson's contract through the end of February, what he has now. At the same time, authorize HR to come up with a job description for a full-time IT individual. And thirdly, to figure out what the financials should be for that full-time position, so it would be somewhat equivalent to the total of the $32 or $35 an hour, however it is with a raise, to come up with a total package. Did I state that? Okay, Mr. Kress agrees. Mr. Paxson.
I just have one comment to make about this. And, for the Novak report, we're lacking policy and pay structure. So here we are bringing somebody on full-time without any kind of pay structure, any policy on pay structure. So where do we bring them in at? Does this fit the pay structure we would want as a board in our IT division? I would say before we bring any more full-time employees on, we get a pay structure set up and know, so when we bring them in, we know where we're bringing that at. And what the benefits are and the whole package. I don't think that's asking too much. Perhaps maybe by February we could have a pay structure for our IT department. But that was clearly one of the policies we were lacking as a board, is pay structure.
I thought the pay structure was going to be township-wide.
We were looking
and therefore we would come up with a job description with a range for a position.
Yeah.
And as you get a pay structure, because I've done this before in other positions, you then fit the people you have into the structure that you are creating. So if you have 20 or 30 levels of pay structure, and within each of those lines you have 7 levels in the pay structure, you can put someone into the beginning at stage 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can put them in at level 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have people already working, so we would fit them into a structure that we would create if we go to a pay structure. To wait to get the pay structure and then fit everyone into it, maybe we need to then fire everybody and start over again. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does.
We have work going
New
on.
employees coming in.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can always fit it in. A new employee coming in would fit into whatever the new pay structure would be. You fit them into a slot depending on what it is you are creating. So I disagree that we need to wait to get a structure before we decide whether we need the position.
I think we need both. Number one, I think we need a comprehensive township-wide compensation policy, period. Novak recommended that. We needed that before Novak. We need it again. We still need it after. That is not a quick process, or it should not be accelerated to become a quick process. That is probably, I would assume that is probably with the resources we currently have in place, probably a 6-month project. It could possibly be done faster, but for 100 employees to fit them into that, you take out you focus on the non-bargaining employees. So I think, number one, I agree we need both. I would support right now, moving forward to the extent that we've described. And I'll make a motion to.
Can I ask one question? before
Sure.
you do that? When would you like this to start? Because that is gonna change. We're gonna have to do some things, because there isn't any money, and I've already finished, 2014 stuff, so.
Well, the one thing that we're talking about doing is extending his existing contract. And so
20 hours a week till the end of February.
To the end of
It's,
February.
What, 180 hours? Is that about right?
Well, it's-
I'm doing it off the top of my head, so.
Well, it's 4, 8, 9 weeks. 10, let's say 10 weeks is 200 hours,
All right, so that's
times 32.
$32 an hour. So we don't have any money to
Okay.
encumber. So the board needs to figure out what it is that they would like to do, and then we need to figure out how to make it happen.
Okay.
Okay, if you figure out that amount, we can figure out how we
Yeah.
put money in there and then figure out how we can organize it.
So it's 200 hours.
That was just a quick.
Yeah.
It could be 180 or 200, just depending whether it's 9 or 10 weeks we're counting.
It's $6,400
Okay.
For 200 hours.
for 200 hours.
And where would we move that from? Is there a contingencies that would?
It would have to come from contingencies. There's nowhere else really to take it from. So it would come from 1,930, 930.
You'll send it to me. You can just make a motion to transfer or to reappropriate the money from
1,000.
contingencies
930,
to
932 contracted services, which is 710, 360.
710 what?
360-3000 in the amount of $6,400. That, and then if you want to enter into a contract, then the money will be
already there.
That certificate.
Okay. So the first thing we need to do is make a motion to
move the
to
money.
reappropriate those
Okay.
funds. The second thing would be to extend the contract, and then we can roll from there.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to reappropriate funds from account 1000-930-930, contingencies, to contracted services, account 710-360-300, in the amount of $6,400 to extend the contract with Mr. Erickson through the end of February.
You want it all in the same?
I'm asking you.
I think we should reappropriate and then we'll do it, yeah.
Thank
The first is the reappropriation. I'll second it.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Okay, the second would be to extend the contract, the current contract, through the end of February 2015.
I'll make a motion to extend the current contract with Mr. James Erickson through the end of February for an amount not to exceed $6,400 at the current terms and conditions.
Second.
Give me just a second.
Board, you would add.
And to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Which is not to exceed 6,400 and at the same, with the same terms?
Per the current rate and
Per current rate.
terms and conditions.
Right.
Terms and conditions.
And TA to sign. Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And the third motion would be to create a job description for a full-time IT individual.
I'll make
be
a
considered.
motion to authorize Human Resources to work with the township administrator to draft a job description for a full-time IT specialist, whatever nature this categorizes
You want to
into.
call them, right.
And with salary range?
No, that would be in the job description, and
That'll
they'll
be in
figure it
there.
out,
Just
and
the
we
job
have to
description.
we have to figure out what that will be,
Okay.
but we don't have one yet. So if we have the job description, and we should have that by
And to
beginning
present- yeah,
of
present.
February.
I'd like to see that in January.
Well, no later than,
January 1st.
right, at 12:01, and we're gonna have a special meeting to see what it is. That's what we're gonna
No
do.
later than the second meeting in January.
I'll just say present in January.
Thank you.
Yes.
Where's your dedication?
Okay. Do we need a motion to that effect, or is that just request to get it?
There's one.
We have one.
Okay, so you have a motion to create the job description. Do I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
I'd just like to add for discussion on this. Since you're working on the job description and there is pay mentioned in this, what would be the harm if HR would work on a pay structure along with IT, along with TA for that? So as we're coming up and we're not having to do all, this is one that's coming up and it's an opportunity for the township to work on this for a new employee.
I think I'm going to satisfy both of our needs in this next motion, if you can bear with me to hear that. So this, what we just did was just the job offer.
The job description.
The job description.
We're not offering anything on it.
All right.
Okay, so you can call the roll on that one.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Next, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Human Resource to work with Township Administrator utilizing the information that was provided in the Novak report, but also doing an independent survey from what Novak provided us of other townships of like size and form, and come back to us with a draft of an employment offer and a survey of salary ranges
For the TI position?
for this specific type of position.
Create a contract, okay. No, we don't need a contract. It's the job description because we don't have contracts. But we will just be able to determine from a survey what that position should
An employment offer.
cost, yes.
With substantiated, here's a salary range of like size.
And it's specifically for the one position.
Right.
Okay, and that would be part and parcel of the job description.
But we actually already did receive a salary survey for department heads. So we have that, it's in the Novak.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to see where that
So
is.
did you want to second his motion?
Yeah, I'd just like to see where those, where the comparisons come from. That's so.
Right.
if you
We
make
need a chart
comparison, I'd
showing
like to see
who's
where-
paying what for
Not here right now.
the kind of
Yeah.
position. Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Right.
Any other discussion?
Does that make sense, Ms. Gustafson? Good.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes. Okay, anything else for the year 2014, Mr. Terry?
Unless you want me to go into my bi-weekly or we're gonna go.
No,
per
I think
schedule?
we had sufficient. If you have any questions on, you have any questions on this bi-weekly
I
report?
have none.
Okay, no, thank you.
Well, thank you, Gordon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Erickson.
Yeah. Ms. Gustafson.
Good afternoon. I do have one item on the agenda today, and that is the renewal for the dental insurance and the vision insurance. I believe Alex submitted to you in your packet last week the information from Brower. And the recommendation from our insurance committee is to stay with Superior Dental. They're offering an 18-month 4% increase. And that actually will put us on the new timetable that will run with our collective bargaining agreement. And then we also would recommend staying with VSP for the employee elected vision insurance plan. That would only be for a period of 6 months because they aren't offering that extension, but that would also put us on the same timetable as the collective bargaining agreement. We would just be renegotiating that with an end date of June 30th.
So they'll all go through June 30th rather than the end of the year thing, or?
Well, we changed, if you remember, we changed our plan year to coincide with the collective bargaining agreement. So what SDC has done is they've given us an 18-month rate with a 4% increase.
Do you have any way of knowing if that 4% is related more to dental or more to vision?
It's two separate providers.
Okay, so
There's
it's strictly dental, the Superior. Okay.
Yeah, so the dental has increased.
Right, and with Superior, they just have more providers under contract. So the other providers that are listed, the numbers are a little bit less, but they only have about 50 to 60% of the dentists in the area. And there's also some changes within, the fine print of what they offer, which would in essence be an increase for our employees.
Okay, and essentially for the dental, there's a single cost and a family cost regardless of it.
Correct. There's
just two rates there.
Correct.
Okay. Any question on the dental or the vision? There aren't any. I have a motion to approve the recommendation. Okay. Who would like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion.
Here's the dental, and then you can do the vision.
Make a motion to approve the Superior Dental as dental insurance company for the township for the period of January 1, 2014 through June 30th, 2015. And authorize the township administrator.
Wait. That can't be right.
The June 30th of 2015.
The dental is what, 18 months?
18 months.
Okay. It has to go to the 2016. January 1st, 2015 to...
16.
This would be the 15, and this would be 16.
You read it too.
Okay, now we read that. Through the period January 1, 2015 through June 30th, 2016.
That would be the year and a half, correct,
Yeah.
right?
Authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Paxton.
Yes.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes. Okay, check the dates on that one.
To clarify, the vision is going to run January 1 through June 30th, 2014, right? Okay. So
15.
15.
15.
No, it's only a 6-month extension.
Yeah, but this is 14, we're going to 15, it would be to
January
15.
1st to the June.
Correct. This is January.
15. He kept saying 14.
I'll make a motion to approve the Vision Service Plan, VSP, as the vision insurance for the township for the period January 1, 2014 through June 30th, 2015, and authorize, I'm sorry, I'm going to restate this. I'll make a motion to approve the Vision Service Plan as the vision insurance for the township for the period of January 1, 2015 through June 30th, 2015, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Mr. Graff. I'm sorry. Mr. Paxton.
Yes.
Ms. Graff.
Yes.
And then I submitted my biweekly report as well.
Any questions on the biweekly report? Yeah, thank you. We don't have any zoning report, I don't believe, says Mr.
Can I have that motion, please?
There is a report in your packet that Mr. Amrine turned in. Obviously, we did receive, right at the submission of this, some additional single-family dwellings. So that puts us up an increase of 115% from last year.
So we're 56 rather than, or 57? 56?
56. This was turned, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we received the one the day that we were putting this together.
The reason I find that important, I will be putting together an article for the In Touch, and I'll use this along with some of the other information that I've gotten. If anyone has any suggestions for the article, please let me know. I think my deadline is going to be January 5th. If you have anything, get it to me and I will incorporate it. Any questions on the zoning? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Parks?
Good afternoon.
Thank you for keeping the snow away.
I am happy to stay away for a little longer.
Christmas Eve.
No.
A whole lot
Because
longer,
Christmas
till
Day,
April.
Christmas Day is double time. I only have one item on the agenda today, and it's kind of a follow-up to the bridge that I brought last week. The answers to some of the questions that were asked. One of the questions was on the warranty. There's actually a 10-year on materials, 5-year on installation. That's just because of what it is. There was a question I had on the proposal itself on 50% down at the beginning and at completion. Less 50% at manufacturing and 50% after install. However, in a perfect storm, it will be within a week. So just bill it all at one time. That's only, they put it in there, that language in there in case there's long delays. The legal concerns, we're still waiting to hear back. But I think what they're looking for there is, as I stated in the write-up, protecting the design and processes. In speaking with a consultant, he feels the same way. And as far as the grants, the consultant and I spent some time along with Mr. Zaharia on kind of running these down. Our best option would be the NatureWorks grant. It was just left 14 or 15, doesn't come back up for consideration until 16 with a funding in 17. As far as the other ones, talking to the consultant, he's very familiar with all of these. The Clean Ohio Trails Fund, if it's not part of the state system, doesn't really apply. That's how we got the bike path currently through Rotary, was with that fund. But it goes to the Beavercreek Trails, which is on the state's trails. So, and the other two, with all these grants, when you apply for them, they almost have to be shovel ready, which means we have to have a design, and it's very short notice. He thinks the chances are slim, and then the Recreational Trails Fund, you're dealing with federal money there, so there's lots of red tape and hoops to go through, especially since we're going to be working in a floodplain. So there's the answer to those questions. The ADA question, I'll turn it over to legal.
Yeah, I did look into it, and under the new changes to the ADA, an alteration doesn't trigger our need to make changes to what they call the path of travel unless it's to a primary function within the park. And because both of these, it's a connector to two parks, but both parks have the access, the path to that bridge, it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay, good.
I didn't want a latent liability to creep up.
Right, and I've seen that in some of the, things were coming through MVRPC, they mentioned some of these. Good, so if we go ahead with it, then we're in good shape. And your recommendation is to just do it as we do, don't delay it any further.
My recommendation is to move forward with it. Because
there's no advantage to holding it off because the grant money does not look like it's advantageous to us at all.
Hold it off till 17, funding wise, and then
they may not have the money.
I know I sat through the last round at Green County. One of the things I do believe is coming is Xenia is working currently on the design for a Frisbee golf course that needs some bridges in it. They weren't shovel ready, so that project automatically got kicked. So I think at this point, the design, build, install quote that I brought forward is probably the best and the cheapest in the long run for the township. And this was all ultimately requested by citizens coming to us saying, what do you want to replace or fix the bridge?
Okay. Any questions from the board? Ms. Paxson? Yeah? Mr. Kretz?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal and purchase order 0033, purchase requisition 00337 to FRP Constructors for the replacement bridge between Phillips Park and Rotary Park in the amount of $45,385.50 pending legal approval, and to have to authorize the administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Wait, Matt, do we know what fund that's coming from?
Yes. Actually, I had the purchase request in my folder.
Can you tell me that, or is it a secret?
It's the 49 land acquisition.
Is your folder here so we can sign the purchase request?
4902?
4902, there's 50,000 here under contract and services, I do believe.
Improvement.
Park improvements.
Improvement.
Okay.
Park improvement.
Thank you.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Mr. Paxson.
Yes.
Ms. Brown.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, board. I did include in your packet the water line upgrade, kind of a synopsis of everything that's went into this. I would like to thank the chief for his time and trying to help get this map so that it's readable on what goes where and what's being proposed and all that. I'll be bringing that back to the board sometime after the first of the year. other than that, I have my biweekly report.
I didn't have any questions. Any questions?
Has the price of salt dropped?
Not currently.
Not yet.
I think last we talked at the county level, we were thinking about going out after the first of the year and rebetting it to see if we can get it to come down. Because there apparently seems to be an abundance out there at this point.
That's what I had heard, that there was surplus.
Okay, but at this point, we have sufficient supply for the kinds of weather we've been having.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That's it. Okay, we got that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Fire, you want to give us your project update or something?
Good afternoon, Board. First, I'd like to thank you for the hiring of the 9 firefighters. That's a huge change in a positive direction for the fire department, a long time coming, so I appreciate your support with that. And just as a reminder, as we finish up here, if you'd like to come next door and get some photos with the guys, I think they'd appreciate it. The second item I had for you today in the packet was our fourth quarter project update. I didn't know if you had any specific questions. There's a number of projects that are on the cusp of being finished, and several that will probably actually still be finished before the end of the year that are not currently. Just a reminder, basically, we don't track down to finite percentages, so it's either started, midway, most of the way done, or complete. So 75% are those projects that are almost done but not quite there. So we have a number of those in process. We've had several projects that we've pushed to next year based off of the workload changes that we incurred this year with contract negotiations and the performance audit. And some of those actually are even referenced by the performance audit. And then we have a few of these that are they're projects, but they're going to be long-term or continuing projects. So, for example, things like building surveys and the water supply projects, those are going to be ongoing. We'll have a report for the board, a presentation for the board, especially on the water supply project, probably by the end of January of 15 to bring you up to speed. But those are going to be things that we're going to be continually assessing and reassessing as we go through the preparation documents that you'll be looking at, then through the standards of cover, and then through our continuing or ongoing self-assessment for the community. So we'll be happy to answer any specific questions you have.
Any questions, sir?
Only if you could have, you'll have your updated for when we go into budget talks.
Yes, sir.
You'll have the end of year.
And it'll be prioritized as far as how the department would like to prioritize those?
It can be in whatever order you prefer. If you'd like to see priority, yes.
It'd be interesting to see prioritized.
Okay. Any questions on his bi-weekly report?
The one big thing I'll point out that's been touched on is the direct cost allocation. So the Novak report, if I remember correctly, had originally proposed a proportional cost allocation for 15 with move into direct cost allocation. After the finance department spoke with the auditor, a proportional process was not probably going to pass muster with the audit. So we're basically jumping that step and going into direct cost allocation. So we're working out the details of that first with maintenance, and we've pretty much got that worked out. And then that's what we'll be using as our process also for IT as we move forward.
I had a question on cost allocation. Is it because of our township status, or because the concept is used in other municipalities and townships, to my understanding? Are they not passing audit?
Well,
likely, or is it?
You're asking to use restricted funds that were promised to the taxpayers for a certain reason. That's their first concern.
Okay.
Their second concern is you just can't arbitrarily pick a percentage that you would like to use.
Correct.
You have to prove that that's what the work they're doing. So
Has to be
we can
founded.
Prove that they are actually either by work tickets or timesheets or some method that they can test, because they're going to come in and test it and run it through the paper trail. So that's the reason for their concern. Not saying that you can't do it, but there are certain, as we discussed before, there are certain parameters in which the levies were passed in for certain reasons, and so we have to stick to those parameters if you're dealing with restricted funds.
So general fund versus restricted fund, I understand that. The second piece of that, if it were a township that had an automated time and attendance system that essentially kicked out a report that information is being provided to them, that's probably what they're showing to the auditor.
Yeah, and yes, and there were several municipalities and/or townships that were doing that were just picking an arbitrary number, and then the audit adjusted it back to general fund, which then put them into fiscal emergency because our general fund was now upside down. So that's what was the concerns that the Dayton Division, who audits our books, had with just picking an arbitrary number.
Okay, so with general fund dollars, if we do some basic due diligence, we can get to a similar end result.
Cost and amount of other departments, as long as the fund that was passed, the levy that was passed, allows that position to be funded that way, then I think that it'll pass. But you've got to have all the necessary paperwork.
Right.
Just like your salaries are concerned as well. You can cost them out to other funds as long as you can prove you're doing the work. This type of a meeting is general fund expense. It can't be cost allocated out.
I'm not going out on the roads and clear the roads when it snows.
But that's a tool that they've given because so many general funds are burdened.
Yes.
And so with the loss of local government funds and with the state going away, they're looking for other ways to get the job done in other funds, but you just have to be careful doing that.
Our biggest hope is that the state legislature increases our local government fund allocations to relieve our general funds.
We do have a little bit more coming next year, I believe.
Okay, well, hopefully they're going to do more than that, I think. Okay, so we will work on all that, and I think that's, I don't have any other questions. What's a photo op for a community child? Was it one child who decided they needed a picture?
It was a special needs child in the community that wanted a fire engine, so we made sure to schedule time when they would be in quarters for it.
As far as I have been told over the years, if there are people whose children would like to see a station or see a fire truck, if they go to the station and the people are there, they're not out on a run, they're usually pretty happy to.
I don't know ever turned anybody away. The guys like showing the trucks off and the stations off, so
and so if anyone wanted to have a picture and they were there in the station, they do it, and they've been very accommodating.
For personal use. We have had some professional photographers approach us for getting photographs, and other folks we don't know what they were going to use the photographs for, so we've declined those. But if they're in the community and they're using them for personal, for their families, for their kids, we have no problem.
Okay, very good. Any other questions that you might, or comments you might have on his report? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you, Board. And with your permission, I'd like to excuse myself from the next door.
Now,
Is that all right?
are they going to wait for us for the shield and the helmets, or are you just going to go ahead?
I'll tell you what, we'll probably proceed with the shields and the helmets, and then if you come over, we'll get photographs afterwards. So
Okay.
Let's keep the process moving.
Please do.
All right.
Okay, is that
And we'll
satisfactory?
try to save you some cake, but that might be a harder fight.
Oh, that's all right. I don't need any this week. This week is overdone my legal advisor.
Yes, thank you, Board. First, I sent you all of the information on the FSA accounts in my communications with the auditor's office that ultimately that they concern that they had originally expressed, they agree it wouldn't be applicable to the township in this instance. So I think you all just need to make the decision that you were previously contemplating about going forward with the FSA or not.
Okay, so you're saying what we've been doing is okay, and the modifications will be okay too, and that comment about the cash equivalent isn't applicable?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Gustafson, did you want to discuss this? I think we,
Did you complete a survey?
I think Mr. Barone wanted to make a comment also.
I had individuals complete forms, just an application.
Okay, how many did you get?
There's 15 in here, and there were a few that were wondering about potential fee, so.
Okay, because the discussion we had was to at least prep them that there may be a cost sharing of that administrative cost. And Ms. Frick, your email indicates we can apply the administrative cost to the plan, and whether it's one participant or 50 participants, it doesn't matter. We can spread that, we can allocate it evenly across there.
That's correct, but you do have to give them the appropriate notice of a change to the plan, which I think that a fee allocation would be that type, that would trigger that notice requirement.
And to clarify, as far as the cash in lieu, we're not talking anything as far as the tax benefit liability to the township. So I'll make a motion if we need to, if we're ready for that.
I'd like to say.
Wait, here you go. Okay, Mr. Brown?
I had several conversations with the auditor's office regarding this issue, and one such conversation transpired in front of all of you. And they said that they were not changing their opinion. So to find that they've now changed their opinion, I'm going to go back to the auditor's office and ask them to redact that out of the management letter, because I don't think we should have that comment if they're going to change their mind. So I'm upset at them for being so wishy-washy, because I did ask them several times before we even got to this point, and they would not change their opinion. So for them to change it for you, I have several concerns over them doing that, number one. Number two, it still doesn't change the fact that we have the administrative costs that we've all discussed and the actual amount of work. Because I think a lot of people are forgetting that it's been a lot of work, and there were several comments in the management letter, not just the cash in lieu of. There were other comments that were made on those accounts not balancing and not happening. So I think that we would eliminate a lot of other things if we didn't have that as well, but that's certainly not my concern.
No, it was, you mentioned that the two, if there was a fee, they would or would not, they would, or they just wanted to see if it was and what the fee might be.
Everyone wants to know. They've all asked
Sure.
to be informed directly after the meeting.
Okay, so there's 15 definite who want to be in and 2 standby?
There are a few.
Okay, well, and you said it's $100 a month?
It's $1,200 a year.
Okay, if it's $100 a month and there are 15 people, it would be $6.67 that it would accrue to the individual if that's what you have to pay.
Well, keep in mind there's another fee as well. So we have a cafeteria plan.
Right.
To do the paperwork, it's $150 to $200 annually that we pay to have that paperwork uploaded. The cafeteria plan then allows us to take health and dental premiums out on a pre-tax basis, and it also allows the township to offer a flexible spending plan to the employees. So that's another component of this as well.
But I think that if we utilize the cafeteria component of this, then I think we'll be subject to the cash in lieu of. It's the flexible spending portion that wouldn't be, was my understanding. Which was my original point.
The flexible spending account is a cafeteria plan.
Yes.
That's right.
But 505-603 does not, it applies to cafeteria plans related to certain things, which the FSA doesn't fit with it under. But if you take if the administrative, or the company that administers it, I'm assuming they administer all of that together. And so that's where I thought that's where I indicated you need to probably talk to the company that administers to see, one, do they provide that? Because some companies will provide through the FSA and the administration of allocating that costs. And I'm not certain how they do that, but I know that some companies will do it. But they would also, usually they will also produce the proper notices and things like that have to go, and there may be a cost associated with that, a paper cost, because you have to provide a new plan, summary plan description and notices to changes within, I believe it's a 60 to 90 day time frame before you make those changes.
Okay.
And that's why I indicated I'm not sure you're going to be able to make
Okay,
those
so
changes.
your recommendation for this year is if we continue with what we have and we want to make changes, we should do it for the 2016 year.
That's correct. I think that's what you're going to find. The company that administers it is going to tell you that there's not time to do that at this point this year.
You'd also need the plan that the company that administers it then to divide the fee. Is that what we're saying? So that we could properly account for.
And the question would then be, could we add that fee to what's deducted from the individual and take it out of that account to pay for it?
And what's the administrative task to do that? And is it worth it?
There's been a lot of administrative tasks that are coming to the end of the table.
Right.
That no one.
Quite. I mean, I understand sometimes it's not worth the $5 you save to spend $90 to do it. I understand that. I can appreciate that. So, at this point, right from a legal standpoint, we're at a timing issue. We either need to move forward with current status quo or eliminate.
Right.
Period.
I think those are really your two choices.
Eliminating it completely so that we no longer offer health insurance and dental insurance on a pre-tax basis, because again,
All we're talking about is FSA at this point.
Well, you can't have one without the other because the flexible spending is a component of the cafeteria plan. So, and that company will not offer the flexible spending unless they offer the cafeteria plan.
Right.
But they may be able to remove the flexible spending account from a cafeteria plan. You can have a cafeteria plan which is solely for pre-tax basis of medical.
But we wouldn't be eliminating anything. I would still have just as much work to do that as I do now. So, because we still have the account.
You're saying we could administer our own plan?
I don't know that we can administer our own plan. I doubt it.
Rather than go through the cafeteria plan?
I can't do
Well,
that.
if cafeteria plan is what allows you to take it out on a pre-tax basis.
Correct.
Each of those, whether it's taking the medical insurance or whether it's a flexible savings account, those are all different types of cafeteria plans.
Right. We don't have the savings. We just have the.
But you take the portion, as I understand it, the portion of the employee's portion of their that they pay towards their health insurance, they pay on a pre-tax basis. That's not unusual for companies to have simply that type of plan and nothing else.
And that's only for those people who sign up for this? Or is that true of everybody?
That's true of everybody.
So everybody is getting, that's a benefit that's provided.
It's FSA and dependent care that is creating this component of the cafeteria plan. That's the issue.
Okay. Let's say we don't have the cafeteria plan. Can people who are getting medical insurance and their portion that they're paying, how does that get figured into all of this? Is that pre-tax or post-tax?
In a cafeteria,
We don't have a cafeteria plan because if we don't adopt this, I'm saying if we don't have that,
It'll be post.
then for everybody, it's then increasing the cost to them
By their effective tax rate.
by the effective tax rate.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're now changing the benefit package for everybody. Unless I'm understanding this incorrectly.
I don't understand why you can't just get rid of the flexible spending portion of the plan.
You can, but what I'm saying is there's a fee that's still associated with the cafeteria plan.
Correct.
$200 a year.
Yeah, it would not be 1,200. It would be down to 200 at that point.
So what I'm saying is, why don't we get rid of the whole thing? Since we are the only township in the whole state that even offers this, and out of over 100 employees, we have 15, maybe less, that are gonna sign up for this.
15%.
Where they are basically, yes, utilizing pre-tax, but it is not something that the taxpayers need to pay for, so that you get the benefit on pre-tax, I guess is my opinion. We're getting, things in our management letter for audit, because we have this, it's costing taxpayers money, and not a majority of the employees are utilizing it. So therefore, I'm just questioning why are we going forward with it?
Well, I'm just questioning the whole thing myself, because we are spending a lot of taxpayer dollars on medical benefits. A huge amount of taxpayer dollars on medical benefits. And I'm not sure that all of those
Which you have to do according to law.
You have to
This
do
is something
certain
you don't
amount.
have to do
You have to
according
do
to law.
certain amounts. There is some that is permissible that we have chosen that we don't have to choose. So I just, 15% of employees is not a minuscule amount. 15% is a nice amount. If we want to change it, fine. I mean, that's not, I'm not going to gain hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So it doesn't really, my axe is not gored, if you would. I just feel that if we are permitted to provide a benefit for our employees, whether no one else in the whole world does it, and I'll tell you, that doesn't frighten me. I was on city council in my previous life, and we were the first ones in the state of Ohio who required money for roads up front. The fact that we had to go to Supreme Court and got it, being the first or the only is not a reason to say we shouldn't. If it has worked, It has not, it has benefited people. One of our employees, I happened to see him the other day, said they look forward, they really rely on having this. It does help them significantly.
My original issue was so that we don't have the management comment. Ms. Frick is saying now we don't have the management comment. Will we have the management comment if we just do away with the flexible spending but keep the cafeteria? Does that do away with that, or we still have an issue?
No, the only issue had to do with the flexible spending.
So if we keep the cafeteria currently and do it at a pre-tax and get rid of the flexible spending, do we get rid of that audit issue?
Well, from my understanding, it's not an auto issue whether you have the flexible spending account or not, because 505-603 doesn't apply to flexible spending accounts.
Well, that was not what they said.
And I know, but you saw that the email that they said, they corrected that.
My only concern was to get rid of the audit expense. I think we started mixing the costs and all that stuff.
Well,
Yeah, it
we can
clouded
get rid of the comment, and they were, we found that there's a different interpretation. Okay, so we are at a point now that it's a decision-making point. Do we want to continue?
What's the recommendation of the administrator?
Well, the only thing is I brought up the concerns before is if there is a change, that potentially we do have a liability with the labor organization.
So your recommendation would be to continue what we have now?
That's surely a board decision on,
Well, we're asking your he asked for your recommendation. You say, do not change in midstream.
I understand. My only concern with the whole thing was that we do have a liability with the labor contract, and so...
If we make a change.
If you make a change, there's that liability. If we choose in the future to do that, I would have to know ahead of time so I can have that conversation with labor management.
Okay. And from a timing perspective, we're not in a timing to make a change as far as fees this fiscal year.
I would not recommend doing that this year. If we continue with the program, it would be my recommendation that in 16 we look at doing a cost allocation share with the employees that participate in the FSA.
That would also flush out and flush through, I should say, Mr. Barone's getting the management notes amended.
I will certainly reach out, and I hope that they will do that.
Right. You have justification for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they will.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they will.
You
might get to it December 30th next year. Okay. So the motion we're looking for then is to either
don't have to do anything.
maintain or change. Or
you don't have, if you don't want to do anything, leave it alone. We'll
okay, so
status quo.
as far as you know, it's going through, same as last year.
I'm in favor then of leaving it as is with the directives to the administrator to look at a cost-sharing program for 2016 and to to work with Mr. Barone for trying to get our management notes amended.
The other issue with the cost sharing thing, Alex, in the contract's 3 years.
Yeah, I understand.
So the cost sharing you can't go to cost sharing either because it alters the contract.
We can clearly, if it's a benefit that we provide, we clearly could associate that fee as a part of the program. With removing a benefit, even though that it was not directly indicated in the contract, they could say it's a change in working conditions and removing the benefits and pull article, whatever it is, 22, in regards to that. But we can definitely look at cost sharing.
Cost sharing wasn't ever the risk.
No,
it was
the risk is not cost sharing. The risk is removing a benefit.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe you can just touch base with them and indicate what the program's causing the township.
The contract does.
Maybe they'll change it.
Yeah, the contract does require the monthly meetings, and we do have an open dialogue with the union the first Thursday of every month. So.
Okay. I think we've completed that discussion. Next one on the agenda is the Township Administrator contract.
Yes, Board. Friday afternoon, the Board directed Mr. Ansball to present a proposal to Mr. Zaharia for an employment agreement. Mr. Ansball was out of town today, so but he has provided to us that Mr. Zaharia did agree to that proposal. So I have copies of that for you, as well as a resolution prepared for the Board.
And I believe that not only the trustees had,
That was also to be sent to.
but the fiscal officer was to get a copy of the proposal because we needed what was the word you used, Mr. Barone?
Certificate of encumbrance.
We did encumbrance.
Well, it was my understanding that Mr. Anspaugh provided that to Ms. Aaron so that that would be available today.
Okay.
But I'm being told now that it wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have those communications, but we can,
You can simply make a motion.
What he emailed, I got the job descriptions, I got the contract, and I also got an email that was sent back from OPNF.
Okay, that's
So-
what we asked him before.
That's what I got.
That is what we asked him to send.
Okay.
yeah, okay.
There was no certificate of encumbrance.
But there's no
Yeah.
certificate.
We didn't,
Okay.
That was a misunderstanding then, or we could have prepared that. so.
Okay, but is
So you
there,
want us to move for that first?
My
Yes.
motion, yeah, Ms. Aaron's, my motion was for him to direct him to forward all of what you just described to you on Friday.
so that you would have the certificate today?
Okay.
And what certificate of what?
So before you approve the contract, though, in order to approve the contract, you need my signature on the certificate of encumbrance, correct?
Well, it has to be attached to it.
Has to be attached to it. So I have questions with the contract, so do you want to go through that?
Well, I mean, I don't think you get to veto it. I think you get to determine whether there's the money there to encumber and whether it's been appropriated.
Yeah.
Right, but when you put things in a contract such as the board may adjust the base salary from time to time, I'm not gonna put my name on an encumbrance when I don't know what time to time means. And, I mean, there's some things in here that are all,
When they're continuing contracts, you're signing it as to that the amounts for that fiscal year are available.
And this fiscal year is in here.
Which, yeah, well, what's the number if it can change from time to
It's a
time?
5-year contract.
Yeah, it couldn't change without a new encumbrance, correct?
Right.
But that's not what it says. It says it may change from time to time.
Okay.
So that means if I do this, or if I certify it for a year, which is what you're saying I'm only
Correct.
doing, correct?
Yes,
You're doing it like you would do a regular continuing contract.
right.
It would start, so they would have to come before the board would have to give approval to change it.
I don't understand your question.
I don't understand.
If we came up in June and changed it, would that then need a new certificate of encumbrance?
If we were changing the contract,
The amount?
right, and the amount.
But if
we
this,
have
what
to-
is certified here, if we adopt this contract right now, is the amount that's in here, plus the retirement needs to be encumbered.
For 5 years.
Well, it could be for 5 years, but as we encumber a year at a time, and it would be in the budget in previous years.
Well, see, these are, when I'm not involved in the conversation, I don't know the answer. I don't understand why the sentence is in the contract.
Because it's more than a one-year contract.
Because
And we
the
don't,
board wasn't gonna
we
commit
do
to
not
a
foresee that every year the individual will get the same amount. Just like everyone else gets an increase at some point, the contract indicates that the board has a flexibility to raise that, or change the amount as year to year changes. And if other things change in here, it allows us to be more flexible. But what is required now is that there is enough money in the budget to take care of this contract through the permanent appropriations.
Okay, then I understand what you want. I understand you want me to put my name on something that says we have the money for this, which I agree we do for this year. My concern is you are already deficit spending, which yes, you don't like that. You are spending more than you're bringing in the general fund. And now you are going to greatly exceed what you are spending.
Right.
And you have had no discussions on how you're going to flip that around or how you're going to make any kind of money. You've also added a position in here that I have never seen, which is the safety director position, which is your prerogative.
Correct.
But I never saw it. It was never discussed in open session. It wasn't part of the Novak group. And now we're paying OP&F. So we're paying 24% insurance instead of 14% insurance.
Correct. We understand that.
So my question is why, if you're having both, I don't have a problem, but then why aren't you paying OP&F on the portion of the time? If he's 50-50, then you should OP&F for one portion and PERS on the other. Why?
The PERS definition of a member says, or you are not a member if you are eligible under 74201, which is a member under OP&F. And OP&F has approved him as a member based on the township administrator and public safety director positions together.
And I saw it. Don't get mad at me.
I'm only
asking. I'm asking because that's what they elected me to do. I'm not mad. I haven't been involved in the conversation. So before you ask me to sign something for a conversation that I have not been involved in at all, I just have some questions, because that's a big thing to the taxpayers. They want to know why why are they going to pay 24% for insurance? Why for 5 years?
It's pension, it's not insurance, to clarify.
You're right. Thank you. Why
There's no insurance
5 years for a contract that we got rid of all contracts, and
Because this is a position that is different from the others, and this sort of position is traditionally throughout the state of Ohio a contract position. It is not a position that everyone gets 2%, that position gets 2%. This is an individual, self-standing position of a different professional level than our standard throughout the township, and therefore we have chosen to do it by contract with kinds of sections that might be different from standard, and have chosen with knowledge of what we were doing and the intention with which we were doing it.
Ms. Aarons, what are the rest of your questions? Just so we can just so we have all of them, we can work through them.
I'm not looking for you to go line by line.
No, I have no intention.
I was going to say.
For hours.
Then I'll stop right here. I mean, from a taxpayer position, this contract is full of a whole bunch of stuff. As a taxpayer, I don't know why if they leave.
Do we have the funds to encumber?
This year you do. You do not for 5 years. Absolutely not.
And so on 2016, 17, 18 dollars, we would be doing a temporary. Is that correct?
At this point, we just question.
Temporary.
Yeah. Do we have sufficient funds if we need a certificate of encumbrance? Are there sufficient funds in that line item to pay the salary until permanent appropriations are done?
Well, I haven't done them yet, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Yes.
The total
For this year, you're still spending more than you're bringing in, absolutely.
But are the funds there to encumber?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one question, since we're on discussion here.
I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session.
Pursuant to 121.22G1.
Consider appointment, employment, dismissal, and compensation of public employees.
I think Dan was trying to say something before.
I just have a question.
My motion stands.
My question stands.
I'll second the motion.
Call, please.
Did we,
Call,
We're
please.
calling for the motion.
responding to
We can
the
do that
auditor?
afterwards.
Are responding to the audit?
Would you please call?
Will you please
Are
call?
responding to the audit?
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxson, or Ms. Graff, I guess,
Yes.
seconded it.
Doesn't
Mr.
make a
Paxson,
No.
Okay. We have a motion to go out of executive session.
it's already been made. And
Okay.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxson?
Yeah.
Ms. Graff?
Yes. Okay. Do you have a motion coming out of executive session?
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution of the Board of Beavercreek Township Trustees, Greene County, Ohio. Board of Trustees, Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 505.031 as the authority to appoint township administrator. who shall be the administrative head of the township under the direction and supervision of the board, and in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 505.032, the board can direct the township administrator to perform such additional duties as the board may determine. Whereas the board has determined that it is in the best interest of Beavercreek Township to appoint a full-time administrator. Whereas the board has determined that the township administrator shall also serve as public safety director. Whereas Alex Zaharif currently serves as the part-time township administrator for Beavercreek Township and is currently a fully certified firefighter paramedic. Whereas the board finds it is in the best interest of Beavercreek Township, Mrs. Zaharif continue to serve as the township administrator full-time, be appointed as public safety director for Beavercreek Township as set forth in job descriptions of township administrator and public safety director previously approved by the board on December 19th, 2014. Therefore desires to enter into an employment agreement with Alex Zaharif.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
No.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Beavercreek Township Trustees finds that Alex Zaharif shall be appointed as the full-time administrator and public safety director effective January 5, 2015, and shall be considered administrative member of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department and/or as a special deputy with the Greene County Sheriff's Office for so long as he holds the position of public safety director and maintains all required state of Ohio certifications. Number 2, as a result of the duties of public safety director, the township administrator will be expected to respond to certain emergencies and conduct activities associated with public safety and law enforcement for Beavercreek Township when necessary. Number 3, the terms of the employment of Alex Zaharif shall be in accordance with the employment agreement to be signed by both parties and attached as Exhibit A. Number 4, all formal actions of the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township concerning the adoption of this resolution were in open meetings of the Beavercreek Township Board of Trustees, and that all deliberations of the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township which resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to public and in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of Ohio Revised Code.
Do we need 2 copies to sign, or 1 copy signed that you'll make a copy of?
There's 2 copies there, Frederick.
Yeah, 2 copies
Okay,
to sign.
well, where's the
so that
second
each party
copy?
can have one,
You
we'll
have a
make
second copy
to
there.
And Ms. Ahrens, you will provide the certificate of encumbrance. Thank you.
Okay, you have the second copy?
Mr. Paxton, thank you for what you
No,
did
do
contribute
you
a
have the
lot. I
second?
appreciate
Do you have the second copy of this?
I think I put it on.
Mr. Barone, thank you for your help that you provided and the guidance and the steering.
Oh, we're not finished yet. We have to, yes.
And Ms.
It
Frick,
took
thank
many
you.
hours of,
I do.
no, that's okay. I thought that we each had individual.
Also,
And, but there were 2 signed here, so.
you want to do the legal invoices?
Dawn
too?
said, Dawn's going to email me the contract and the certificate. So that we'll attach it.
My assumption is you didn't want to sign, right?
This one's the resolution here.
Okay, we'll sign that too, and you have to sign this. We have anything else? Trustees have any business that they want to present before the end of the year?
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
Have happy holidays.
Happy holidays, happy New Year, and
Okay, fiscal officer, do you have any additional information you want to put on?
No,
the agenda?
can we please remember next year, the last meeting of the year, we don't spend any money. It's way too difficult. I understand this year we had certain things and that's fine, but
Not too much money was spent.
not too much money was spent.
Not today.
Not today, we had to move money 3 times. So just a reminder that the reason we stopped spending, it's December 17th or 12th, that applies to all. So next year I'll be a little more voiceful if we try to go down that road again. It doesn't happen. How is it?
my rookie year is almost over. Thank you.
And we have
bills.
one more issue.
And there'll be no bills. There'll be no bills the first trustee meeting.
We have legal invoices. Dan, will you do the legal invoices?
Yeah, I signed it.
I'll make a motion to approve legal invoice dated December 1st, invoice number 67810 from Certic Dowd Turner in the amount of $95.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Graff?
Make a motion to approve invoice dated December 1st, invoice number 67811 from Certic Dowd Turner in the amount of $1,843.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton? Ms. Graff?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve invoice dated December 1st, invoice number 67809 in the amount of $285 from Certic Dowd & Turner.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Make the final motion for this, for
the
legal
year.
invoices of the year. The invoice dated December 1st, invoice number 67808 from Certic Dowd & Turner in the amount of $2,831.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes. Okay, other.
That resolution, Ms. Ames?
I passed you the resolution for the contract.
It's to be dated 15. I orally said 15, but we did not change it. That's it.
Unless you backdated to the 14th last year. Okay, that's, then there's the two contracts. Is there anything else to come before the board at our last meeting of 2014? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
We'll make a motion when you turn the meeting.
Second.
Mr. Paxton?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes. Thank you.